Well, good evening, everybody. I would like to start with felicitations along the lines of our Salah greetings and come down to what today represents for us as children. So, fellow children, happy Children's Day. How are you? Many people tend to forget that we all are still children. But there are some who are, at the moment, our immediate target. Some of us have become fathers and mothers, but we are still children. In fact, this morning, we were on a Zoom call with the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, and I explained to her that we are basically her number one children. She's our stepmother. The wife of the president is the mother of all the country. And I later spoke with my sister, my half-sister, in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. And I said, it is all our job to educate our children. I'm only holding forth for all of you. So I want to use this opportunity to thank mothers. Mothers are at the head of our school system. They are the first teachers we recruit. They are the ones who tell everybody that it's time to wake up and go to school. And now that schools are closed, they are the ones acting on our behalf. Most of them have now learned how to act very well. They will wake up the children in the morning, dress them up, take them to a point and point out as if we're going to a real school. Some even take them into a car and bring them out. So mothers have learned the complete act of acting. So we thank mothers everywhere. It is also instructive that in their hands we've left many of the things that we would normally do in school. School feeding, sanitation, hygiene, and online work. So, like my colleagues in the PTF have pointed out to you, throughout this week we have been deliberating on what it will require for us to forge ahead. And on this day, that is Children's Day, it's instructive for us to explain to them what it is that we are thinking and what it is that we're working on. We want to say, number one, the material that the chairman of PTF spoke about, which is an announcement purportedly from him that we are reopening all schools on the 8th, did not emanate from us. That is not true. The big organs you see here, all the big doctors, Dr. Hanire, Dr. Mamora, Dr. Isani, Dr. Ihekwazu, all these people are experts, along with WHO. So whenever I bring up all this, my logic, they will tell me, look, logic is not medicine. Until we are sure that these children can go to school, return safely, and not bring home with them this COVID material, then infect people who are more susceptible to the disease than they are, then we are running a huge risk. And God forbid, in our hurry, something happens to our children. I'm not sure how anybody will be in a position to even retrieve what has been lost. So we are not taking that risk yet. We are going to prepare as much as possible within the guidance that they offer us with their expertise, working in conjunction with the World Health Organization before we reopen schools. However, for us, the plans are staggered. The tertiary institutions operate almost under a different climate from the secondary schools and our primary schools, and I'm sure you're all aware of that. So it only it's fair to understand how each one works. We need to also appreciate that currently schools as institutions of learning are closed, but people who work there are still government workers. So they are not on holiday, they are actually still working. So for tertiary institutions, when people hear that University of Ibadan had its council meeting by Zoom, we sanction it. It's not against, it's not, you can't say because they are closed, because students are not in school, they can't hold council meetings. That is legitimately their work, and that is within the ambit of what government thinks all its workers should be doing. The same way we do Zoom meetings or do online meetings, that is acceptable everywhere. We also believe that those who work in universities and other institutions should use this period to either upgrade skills, take on new courses, find out what they need to do to make their teaching and learning more impactful, and use this period. It's not a waste, and let it not go to waste. So we know that the university, polytechnics, colleges of education, all their apparatus of governance must be functioning. There is no gap in those ones. For secondary schools, we expect that those who run them, our SBMs, should be also able to be looking at what they need to do to manage them, so that when we say we are ready, there will be some readiness alongside everybody. But you must realize also that education in the constitution of our country is a concurrent matter. Because it's on the concurrent legislative list, some subnationals may not be as equipped to react at the same basis with others and at the same level at all times. So we're going to publish a specification as to what we expect COVID or post-COVID reopening to look like. We are not talking about coping with COVID. There's a difference. We've come to understand that COVID may not necessarily go away. So we expect that we will adapt. That in the presence of COVID, what do we then do? Not that in the absence of it. This is in spite of COVID, we will still have to work. So what are we going to be looking at? The same things we've asked of every other institution. And this is where primary schools will then become important. For a country that has over 115,000 primary schools, you will understand that 35,000 of these who are private must agree to set up the same standards in order to allow children to go in. Number one, we want all our children, be they at secondary, primary, tertiary institutions, to come into schools by the time they would have done physical distancing. That is a very difficult thing to achieve in children. And it might even be higher for classes. If you go to our Nigerian universities, many of the things we need for social distancing may not be available. So you may need to rethink it. For instance, which courses should be in school at which periods? We can have semesters within semesters for different departments and different faculties. It is the same we're planning for secondary school reopening. We want to bring in our JS children and SSS first. They conclude their exams, vacate the place, use as much of the space as possible, and then others can return. We'll do the same thing with primary schools, where we will now limit the number of children per class. What this may mean also is that we may have classes in the mornings and then have classes in the afternoon. So whichever is convenient for you, you will now be divided. So we'll have the whole of the infrastructure we have provided can serve us at different times. I'm not sure whether there will be classes at night, but we can just deal with morning and afternoon at the moment. That is for social distancing. To organize sports, to organize events, ones that are contactless, and the ones that we can do with in different places, and use all the infrastructure of every school, so that if libraries can be, some people will be in the field learning, some people will be in classes, some people will be at different facilities within a school at all times. So the schools will be encouraged to all retool along these lines. Apart from social distancing, we are also looking at sanitary conditions in the schools. My big boss here, the Minister of Environment, has been inspecting all the schools. We intend to fumigate all and ask that suburbs in the states use part of the money we give them to upgrade the standards of the sanitation in the place. We want to be sure that every school can deploy pedal-pushed hand wash machines, locally manufactured, because we believe that this is a period where you cannot start relying on any import. This is all our research labs have developed very good ones. We've seen very nice ones from the Polytechnic in Nekede, in Kwara, in Offa, in so many ABUs area. Everybody has developed very nice ones. So we can bring all this together, and we can use that as a foundation for even national industrialization. I was at the Ministry of Science and Technology over last week, and we had a good discussion over this. That will also lead us to the sanitization booths, which we are recommending that everybody gets. The Institute of Chemical Technology in Zaria has already informed the Ministry of Science and Technology that they are able to produce internal chemicals which we can bring 2-meter booths standardized by NACENI in the Ministry of Science and Technology and allowed to be produced by companies that will be licensed by the Ministry of Trade and Investment, such that it will be available everywhere in the country in almost 200,000 locations, so that people can walk into a school and get disinfected on their way going in and be disinfected on their way coming out, so that even if they've caught anything inside, they don't live with it. Those are the kinds of plans we're looking at on a broader national picture. But like I said, this all will be synthesized, and we're only giving you some sort of forewarning so that everybody can begin to plan. Those who are listening to us from here should begin to make these plans, because we don't want to keep saying we're not ready. It's a forewarning to private and state governments that the only conditions for which we are going to be reopening anywhere is that these places become ready to receive students and bring them home safely. Thank you very much.